the people that do end up becoming really, really good salespeople, but it's not an overnight thing, which is what a lot of people who aren't decent salespeople think it is, oh, I can learn a magic phrase and that closes everybody. Doesn't work that way.
Let's go.
Landon, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It looks like we've got we've got a couple of our people in here too. Sweet. What's up, Patrick? What's up, Ravenswood?
Beautiful. Well, everyone, it's there's been a bit of a spanner in the works, as you can probably tell. I'm new to Zoom, so it's kind of like just from moment one, I'm just like, fuck. So we're just sorting all this out. So I'll get my phone up so I can at least see comments. I'll get this all sorted later. But thank you so much for tuning in today. And Landon, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Sure, no worries. Guys, for those of you that are watching, because I've not been in the group until just a few minutes ago, nobody's going to see this that hasn't interacted with me before. If you guys could comment and smash the hell out of that like button, that'd really help out Ross and the group so they could see it. Yeah,
awesome. No, thank you. So I'll just bring up my phone here. I'll tell you what, this is supposed to be like, look, invest in a better camera, get a better webcam. And then all of a sudden it's just, amateur as fuck. But it's all good. So I appreciate that. So Landon, I'd love to hear about how you got into the online world, because you've got a massive group in yourself, a huge community, a huge following, and a lot of the guys and girls in the group here are, they're a big fan of yours. So I was very keen to get you on the show.
That's awesome. Sure. Pardon the dogs. The kid's coming home from school, so they're going to be apeshit for a minute.
No, that's cool.
And really here in 3 seconds, it's going to be nuts.
No, all good.
Okay, cool. So how I got started in the online space, I was 19 years old. I got my first computer from at that time, father-in-law, and got on the internet, was poking around. This was pre-Google. I was 19. It was 1998, early 98, springtime. And
this was like Dog Pile and Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, totally. The first real thing that I saw that caught my attention was some dude sitting in a beach chair with a laptop. It was like some big crazy, mid-90s font that said, "Make money from home." And I was like, totally, right?
Why not? Yeah.
And at that time, I was still in the chef world. And so I was starting to learn about sales and marketing. And what that kind of became was one of my passions, one of my hobbies, one of the things that I love to soak up info about is marketing. And then I got into sales a few years later. And so I've studied this space. I'll try and land this plane. For about the last 20 plus years, I've really studied and been obsessed with marketing and learning the sales trade the way that I did. I did it for 15 years and it was all outbound. I really cut my teeth on dialing the phone. And kind of my opinion is we have the technology that we've got. It doesn't make sense to not leverage that because sales is an activity. And what I mean by that is if you're going to do the prospecting aspect of sales, where you're trying to go find the next client, that activity takes a lot of time. You can bundle the most perfect version of that prospecting thing and the message that gets that person to the end of that, what would be the sales conversation where they say, yes, I'm in.
Yeah.
What's next? How do we do this? You can do that entire process, automate it, and put it on the internet and put it in front of your exact perfect for you prospect.
Yeah.
Therefore, you can do all kinds of other things with that time that you're no longer having to do. So that's the overview. About a year ago, I kind of got dragged into this space of teaching people sales. It's not what they want is to learn how to get sales. They want to learn how to get clients, which is a totally different thing.
Yeah.
For the last year, we've been growing this business and it's doing quite well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I mean, your group's massive. Like, how long have you had the group for? Has that been around the same time frame?
Yeah, right at a year.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Congrats.
Thanks.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great content in there. So at the end of the show as well, make sure if I don't know if there's comments, if you're able to do comments on Zoom. As I said, I'm new to it all, but yeah, at the end of it, typically everyone will just put all your comments for all your links and everything like that, just so that way everyone can get a hold of you later.
Perfect. Fantastic.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. So, I mean, that's the thing, like with sales, it isn't about sales, it's about getting clients. And at the end of the day, if sales wasn't involved and it was just you got in front of someone and said, hey, do you want to buy? And they said yes, then there'd be no need for sales. But the reality of it is that, yeah, things are progressing and attentions are now harder to grab and keep a hold of. So the more we can do to basically get that process and get the clients is ideal. So if you can set it all up and automate it, then you're doing phenomenally.
Yeah, the biggest thing that most people don't seem to get is, and these are a bunch of cliches that have been kind of like thrown at us for the last 5 to 10 years, niche down, understand your ideal client avatar, and all of these different things. The reality is all of us who are looking for actual clients, right? We're not selling an ebook. We're not selling a course. We're not selling whatever. We're looking for actual clients.
Yeah.
Figure out who that ideal client is that you can have the most impact and thus charge the most amount of money, and hone down all of your activities to that one person, and then go find 5 to 10 of those a month. Most people really sell on something between let's call it $3,000 and $15,000 per client. Yep. Don't need that many clients every month. And it's really stupid easy to use Facebook and LinkedIn if you need to identify who those people are and get your perfect for them message in front of, so they go through your relationship funnel and come out the other end. I want it. I need it. You're the one to get me there. I totally know how much it costs. Where do I put my money?
Yeah. Just take my money. Just
right.
Take it. Yeah.
And at that point, it's really, between 5 and 10 questions to validate that you actually want to bring that person on. And then it's a simple, here's how you get started.
That's cool.
It's interesting how much resistance I get to that whole thing. It just boggles my mind. But the people that do get it, get it. And they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. We've got some people that are actual salespeople in our world, like Patrick. I know he's an actual real sales guy, right?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I do sales therapy as sales coaching at a really high level for people that do that thing. But not everybody has the fortitude to be that kind of salesperson. And the people that do end up becoming really, really good salespeople. But it's not an overnight thing, which is what a lot of people who aren't decent salespeople think it is, oh, I can learn a magic phrase and that closes everybody. Doesn't work that way.
Takes many, many years. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because my whole background is sales. So I was in pharmaceuticals prior to the online space, but I wanted a bit of a change. So I wanted to learn a whole new type of sales, and here I am.
That's interesting. You were in pharma sales in Australia?
Yeah.
How long did you do that for?
Well, technically my title was medical practice manager, but it was a dual role. So for about 5 years, so I managed the practice, and then clients would come in, and because we were niche with a certain type of medication that we sold, and it would make a lot more sense to pay me, say, $60 an hour to sit in front of potential clients. And then once they were suitable, get the doctor for $150 to then write those scripts.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you didn't go out and go see the different doctors at their offices or different hospitals. They came to you.
That's right. Very, very different. Yeah. So they would actually come to us. So, and opposed to being other doctors, it would actually be, just general members of the public that needed certain medications that we sold. And if they were suitable, then, we signed them up and we went from there.
Mm-hmm. My best friend of about 11 years, his wife has been in pharma sales for about 15 years.
Yeah.
And she goes and sees clients. But where I was going with when I asked you that is it a female dominated market there like it is here?
Fair enough. Well, with my space, because it was very niche, it was predominantly male because it was in hair loss. So There were certain things that we had, we did surgery and a few medications as well. So it was predominantly men that came through, but a lot of women started to come through as we ramped up the advertising to say, hey, well, guess what? Women can actually be treated for hair loss as well, because it's actually quite common. I think it's like 1 in 4 women have hair loss.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's very, very common.
Interesting. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the online space?
I love it how we've turned it around. This is great. Well, yeah, it was really just back in September. I've always wanted my own business, and I always wanted something where you basically jump online and from day one have an international business. And it made sense that the US dollar is 30% stronger than the Australian dollar. So rather than flying over the States, I thought, well, I'll stay in Australia and I'll just start a business online. And then, basically just started networking and growing this group and growing my network within the States predominantly, and kind of came to where we are now. So
Interesting. I am going to let you ask me any questions that you ask, but it appears that most of our audience knows my story already, right? So
yeah,
if you're good,
yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, you're saying.
Let's dance. Right. What I was going to say was, if it, unless it doesn't make sense, yeah, let's totally turn this around, and I'm going to interview you as to what you're doing and how you're doing it and what your thoughts are. And if I can give you any guidance, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I said, we'll just kind of go with the flow. And it's funny because, being in this space, then probably most of the audience knows my story as well. But for everyone that isn't on watching it live, they're not, on the replay later, then they definitely pick up some value from, your story and that sort of thing, and from mine as well. So absolutely. Because, I'm just really interested in, for where you are now with the group and all that. How did you really grow it to, say, for everyone that's got to, got their own group, a lot of struggling to get 200-300 members, those initial few hundred, how did you get there, Landon?
Okay, cool. I like where this conversation is going even better.
Still got it.
Right. When I was kind of dragged into this thing, right? Because I truly was. Ash and I full on had a parenting business, and I bought a new Facebook ads course. Okay. And the story goes, which is true, for I don't know, 5 or 6 years prior, I had purchased 3 or 4 other Facebook ads courses, but I wanted to see, shit changes. What are the tactics that are working now? And I ended up having conversations with people. We ended up building relationships, and I'm asking them, how to run this ad set. Like, should I use an image? Should I use a carousel? Like, and by proxy, they're telling me about their stuff. Long story short, I end up coaching a bunch of these people. And really, it's sales as an umbrella, but it's getting clients.
Yeah, of course.
So when this first happened, here's how it went. 3 people on one day all told me, dude, you need to fucking teach this. And I was like, dude, no, the fuck I don't. You're out of your goddamn mind. Like, I finally got out of sales. I'm doing this other thing that's really like floating my boat. You're out of your goddamn mind. And then the next day or the day after that, another person was like, dude, you got to teach this. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, are you guys all pranking me? And then somebody that I was working with on the ad stuff was like, well, okay, fine, but you're going to end up doing this. And I was like, whatever. By the end of that week, like within 5 days, she created a Facebook group. I went and created the sales gorilla thing. I went and found a gorilla, and we put it in the current logo looks better than it did then. Created a group, and it was mostly her. She added like 80 people, and then other people were adding some other people. And at the end of that first week, from like day one of having the group to the end of that first week, there was like 140 people in the group. And I'd been doing Facebook Lives from, I think, day 2 or day 3. And I quickly found what I thought, which is why I didn't want to teach sales, because everybody wants to know about cold calling and cold emailing. And I'm like, that's fantastic. But not only do you realize we have full-on electric cars right now, but fuel injection's been out for like 30 years. You guys want to talk to me about hand crank cars? Are you out of your fucking mind? And it evolved and it evolved and it evolved. In the first the first month, I think we ended up somewhere around 300 people. Month 2, we got up to about 450 people. And then at the end of that month, I closed down that group and reopened a new group with a different name. And we migrated about 80 people, 80 of the original 450 people, because it made sense. And I got really picky on who I had in the group because I knew what it was that I wanted to teach people. And I knew in general who it was that I wanted to teach. But as a marketer, I didn't have the messaging and all of the pieces in place to really identify who it was that I wanted and why. And so we just kind of went with it. And from about April 2017 through about September or late August, early September, our message and who we were for and what we do really narrowed down and really got focused. And in the group, it's interesting. There's still people that come in and want to talk cold calling and stuff like that. The message that we're running ads to is totally making sense. And to people that are not indoctrinated in our world, that know me as a sales guy, they don't talk about cold calling and stuff like that. So to answer your question, we've been really picky over the last 12 months about who we let into the group. In fact, the pin post still currently says that we let in less than 55% of the people that request to join. And that number is getting actually bigger and bigger and bigger. Because let's be real, there's a bunch of really amazing ways that you can just let anybody in and grow a giant, huge group. Like we could have 150,000 people in the group right now, but it wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, of course.
To grow a group like Arnie's done, he's really quite selective on who he lets into the group, and it's worked. Really well. In about 14 months, he's grown it to 40 some thousand people. He has a different strategy on what he markets and to whom than we do. It makes sense for him to have a bigger group because that gives him more opportunity. But your ultimate question comes down to who should have a Facebook group and why.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. There's 2 reasons really to have a Facebook group. I love this topic and nobody that I know has any idea what the fuck I'm talking about. And it's the thing I spend all my free time being involved with, right? My family doesn't get it. My neighbors don't get it. I've got a couple of friends, but they're on the other side of town and I'm not going to call them to talk about it over the phone. I need a community of people that are all weird like me about this one subject.
Yeah.
And there's really not a reason to turn that into a monetized thing. The other group of people that should have and should grow a Facebook group are people that have something that they can sell, that it makes sense to sell to a much larger audience, hence generally not a coach or a consultant that's only able to sell something person to person.
Yeah.
Meaning now you're talking group coaching, courses, ebooks and programs and all of those things that are automated. It's your knowledge, it's packaged up and they can buy it. Or if you really have a spin on the thing that you do and it makes sense for you to become one of the top 3 or 5 people in your entire big niche, and you're the person that does this one vertical within that, like if you're going to become the fasting guy, right? You become whatever his name Pilon is, and he's the fasting guy. When you talk about weight loss and stuff like that, and you talk about intermittent fasting, he's generally the first guy that comes to mind. Bulletproof coffee guy, right? If you are going to do something on that scale and you want to become internet famous to your niche, then you should grow a Facebook group. Everybody else, if you're not one of those 3 people, it doesn't make sense time and money wise to try and grow a Facebook group.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a lot of time involved. Like, I mean, now I've kind of taken the foot off the accelerator a bit because it's just organically growing. But November, December, I was putting in like 4 hours a day just to grow that. Mm-hmm. And, it takes up a lot of time initially, at least.
Mm-hmm. Now, There's one little caveat to that, and it comes down to if you're really willing to put in the time and the effort to do it, it may make sense. We sell mostly a course, so it makes sense for us to grow a much broader audience and then be able to target and pixel and retarget and market to those people, right?
Yeah.
But we do also sell coaching. It makes sense for us to do the Facebook group thing because going into it knowing that the Facebook group in and of itself is going to be a giant time suck, and that's not where the money's at. But because our overall topic, sales and marketing, is such a big market, and there's so many people that do different variations of it, it makes more sense to go to market with a thing with an entire church choir group of evangelists going, oh my God, this is amazing, because that's all of our social proof for when we start driving traffic. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that helps answer it, because a lot of people when they're first starting out, they don't really have a lot of direction in regards to groups or why they're starting groups. They just hear, because I was in the same boat. I was just, when I first started the whole networking thing back in November, just trying to absorb as much as I can. A lot of people, a lot of feedback, especially being in Arnie's group, it was, have a group. I was like, okay then.
Yeah.
I didn't know why, but then along the way I kind of learned as to why they're powerful and why to have one.
Yeah. There's a couple other pieces in here too that a lot of people don't ever think about. Being the front man of a band, because essentially that's what having a group and building a community is you're building a community that loves that music, right? What I do on Friday Night Live and in the Facebook Lives, that's like going to a concert, right? If you don't have the ability to go on stage on a regular, all the time basis, you're going to have a really hard time growing a group, because what people are showing up to that group for is no longer you and the thing that you do. They're there only for the community aspect of it. And then it's really hard to even do market research. I'm going to totally give you some gold on this. The biggest reason that you should grow a group, if you've got a course or group coaching that you can do, is because you can really narrow target the people that you're letting into the group, and then you can do market research on them to understand who within that is exactly your best. And then you take that info to go run cold traffic to ads to get exactly whom it is that you want and market to those people. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I did exactly that because, in the group, I was asking, what does everyone want from the group? And I did a poll, and I said, well, look, I can do X, Y, and Z, websites, sales, run through how to start a podcast, all these different things. And the general consensus was sales. And I was like, all right, cool. So let's do this. And then in a very unique fashion, opposed to just saying, hey, I'm going to make a sales course and sell it to the group, I said, look, let's do an exchange where you guys give me questions for sales and I'll answer them live here within the group, not selling to the group. And then I'll now use that to then build a course around it and then sell it on Facebook itself. So, that's something kind of in a unique aspect that I'll be doing here. So over the next few weeks, there'll be quite a lot of sales live trainings. We've already done a few, but we'll do more.
Nice. What kind of sales? Outbound specifically?
Honestly, I've done all sorts. So in this regard, because I found that now coming into the digital space, there's almost this gap between those that they have their foot in the digital world, but they still have local clients, and really just bringing the two together, because so they might be super good at lead gen, but then don't know how to close a call, or they might be on a call and then during that, really don't know how to fashion the conversation so they can handle the objections before they've arisen. So I feel that there's quite a big gap there for that. So I think from coming from, say, real sales to now the digital space, I can help to somewhat bridge that gap. I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome sauce. I'm glad you found your jam.
Yeah, sure. Cheers. Because I've been building websites because I taught myself like WordPress over the years, but it's really a case of sales is my thing. So I'm still getting a lot of web design work, but I figured, well, if I can help a lot more people opposed to individuals with sites and actually do, say, a course or whatever else, then, it will come together at a much larger scale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Have you been through the treasure hunt?
I only stumbled across it recently, so I haven't been through it yet. Because with now when I go on Facebook, I rarely see all personal things. It's all groups, and it's just with the algorithms, it's just flooded with different things. And it's interesting. I was having a chat with a friend about this recently, and he was saying that because of the exact same thing, he uses Facebook for business. We miss out on what our friends are doing. Not super close friends, but just friends. And he's like, dude, like I missed out on friends having like kids and shit. Like that just, if it didn't pop up on Facebook, how are you going to know? So yeah, I'd love to know more about the treasure hunt because I haven't really dived into it all that much.
This may make sense for you and some of the people that are watching. You know what an email sequence is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what an indoctrination sequence for an email sequence is, right?
Is that like retargeting? I'm not quite sure the
Okay,
phrasing.
so have you heard the term a soap opera sequence for email?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Well, this is
And
interesting.
have you learned anything really about email marketing in the last few years?
Yeah. So I'm learning about email retargeting, things like that.
Okay. So the treasure hunt is our indoctrination series, orientation series, and a sales funnel done in a Facebook group.
Okay.
Okay. And it accomplishes a couple of different goals. We're actually releasing a paid training on this week just for group owners. If you want people to be able to come into your Facebook group, consume your info, be pre-framed for the sale, filter themselves out, and qualify themselves for your best client, then you use a treasure hunt. Okay. And the treasure hunt and the way that it's structured, you cover the sales process, intro, qualify, features and benefits, and gain commitment. And that's essentially what the treasure hunt is and does. And it's basically you take this and you structure that a certain way. And by the time the people get to the end of it, you're able to make them an offer and a certain percentage of them buy that offer. But now you've also got their email address and you've been able to pixel them. So now you can market to them outside of your Facebook group and on and on and on.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. So if you're watching at home, then yeah, for sure, check that out. Now let's have a look at comments just because it's been a while. Okay, there's quite a few comments. Because yeah, the thing with the Facebook Lives, like it's fantastic because you can just have comments just all along the side, which is really easy going because then when you get questions, Q&A along the way. Yeah, let's have a look.
With Zoom, I pull it up. I always pull up my lives on my phone, and I've got it in the background behind the Zoom pane so I can keep up with the comments. It's almost perfect, Zoom, but not quite. Almost, but not quite.
Yeah. But hey, look, we'll get there. As we were talking about before, this is my day one of using Zoom. So I've got another live later. So I think I'm going to have to just swap it back to mobile because it's a with being in Adelaide, Australia, I'm now trying to grow my audience outside of Facebook. And I'm using that by picking basically Adelaide celebrities and I'm leveraging their audience to now grow more of a following. So I've got the mayor coming on in about a week, Mayor of Adelaide. So that'll be cool. Yeah. And it was really, I decided, like, I had a coffee with someone and they're like, hey, look, you're growing this, awesome community, all these amazing people. How come you don't have an Adelaide-based audience? And I thought, I know, I hadn't really thought about that. Like, still the whole 30% stronger with the US dollar, so it makes sense. But I was like, the same thing, ego, I want an office, here in Adelaide. So, within about a week, it was, I think it was less than a week that the mayor had agreed, and it was purely just having the balls to ask. So, when it comes to things like sales, sometimes just asking sometimes gets you over that line. So that was helpful. So yeah, today we got a guest on later. He's like an Adelaide millennial celebrity as such. He's got one of Australia's largest supplement companies.
Wow.
So he's coming on, but I'm just going to do it live on my personal profile, which I don't typically do. But just the fact that because he is from Adelaide, he'll have such a large audience that if I do it live there, then I basically just leverage all of his group, or not his group, but his following as such. And then all of a sudden there's now, his 5,000 Facebook friends knows my name.
Right. Total side topic. Hilltop hoods.
Great, fantastic. Like I haven't heard them in a while, but yeah, they'll pop up. But back in the late 90s, they were massive. Like yeah, a few of them just live 20 minutes from where I am. So you know the Hilltop Hoods?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm not very big into rap and hip hop, but something about them, I dig almost all of their music, and it's not often I get to talk to somebody who's in Australia and that comes to mind,
Yeah, I'll tell you what, like they're, especially late 90s, a massive fan. Like I'm still a big fan now, but they don't typically bring out as much music anymore. But yeah, they did one where they had an album, and they did the Restrung, which was basically the same album, but with an orchestra behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And we went and watched that live, and it was really cool because we were up in the stands because we got late tickets. So all the general admission was sold out, where you'd actually stand in kind of the mosh pit. So we're all sitting up in the chairs, and we're all sitting there for a while. And I was like, guys, like, this is fucked. Like, let's just try and get in. And they're like, no, we can't do it. And I got one guy on my side, and then like kind of everyone's like, all right, let's try it. And turns out all it meant was we walked down there, and the security guards are like, oh yeah, do you guys want to go in the general ad? And we're like, yes, please.
That's awesome.
And we got in there because we were halfway through. It was just packed to the rafters. Like there's absolutely no way you get in the front. And we're the group that we always love to get to the front. And there was this, he was about late 40s, like this crackhead, like no shirt, sweating bullets. His pupils were just monstrous. And he was standing right there, and he's like, oh man, it'd be so good to be in there. And I turned to him and was like, yeah, man, it'd be really good if you went to the front. Like imagine being right at the front. He's like, yeah, you know what? That's a great idea. And it was like the Sea of Moses, because no one wants to touch a sweaty crackhead. So the whole crowd just moves, and I grab my friends and we just follow him. And then from us being right at the back of, hundreds and hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people, we're now two from the front. And I was like, yeah, this is excellent.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, big fan of Hilltop Hoods for sure. I haven't thought about reaching out to them, seeing if they wanted to go on the podcast, but I think that might be a little bit, at least with the mayor, no one knows who he is. So like, you can kind of like, by asking, like, yeah, I want to relate more to, millennials, whereas Hilltop Hoods like, no, thanks.
That's funny shit.
Yeah, good times. Yeah, Rob, yeah, Zoom rocking for you, mate. Yeah, Rob, I still gotta fix a few little things. I'm not sold on Zoom yet, but it's purely just because I don't know what I'm doing on there. And the camera angle as well as my chins, so I'll sort all that out soon.
Right.
Yeah. But no, Landon, I mean, yeah, this is awesome. Like, it's coming on. I really appreciate you coming on. It's a lot of fun, learning about with basically, yeah, the group itself and what you've managed to achieve with that is phenomenal. And do you still, because obviously you're saying you do a lot of, you're building a course as well. Do you do consulting as well?
I do. My time's limited. Our course is actually live, Getting Clients Without Being Salesy. Our course is the Perfect Client Attraction System, and it's all about how to identify exactly who it is, target them on Facebook, and then get your content in front of them and pull them through a relationship funnel. So the people you have to be on the phone with are, I want it, I need it, I know how much it costs, I'm ready to get started. You're the person that I want to lead me through this journey. Where do I put my money?
Just take it.
Right? Yep.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And I'm just checking because, yeah, this, as I said, with the whole laptop battery, I was like, fuck you. The screen dimmed. I was like, oh, no.
That's funny.
It's all good. Yeah. As I said, I'll figure all this out soon. But no, this is a lot of fun. This is great. Yeah. So, I mean, is there anything else you'd like to touch base on, like, while we're on today?
If you're going to be a sales guy, learn how to prospect the right way so you don't have to waste your life prospecting. And that means identifying exactly who it is you want to do business with and only focus on reaching out to those people. If you want to get clients coming to you, chasing you, then there is an easy way to set that up on Facebook. And it doesn't matter if they are intent-based on LinkedIn or intent-based on YouTube or wherever, they're all on Facebook. We target them on Facebook, and then we can market to them anywhere else on the internet. Use the technology. We've got it. Yeah,
well, that's it. Just for now, being in the digital space, like just the the opportunities that are here is just crazy. Like it would, especially in Adelaide, such a small place. You really got to milk every potential client. Whereas with the internet, it's a case of if there isn't a client that's, your ideal client, then you just move on and you can, find a whole group that are. So it's fantastic.